G'day, we're back here with another video about the treason and fraud that's going on in this country. Of course, fraud being a maximum law, it wipes out everything at inception, including all the lies and garbage being spewed out by purported premiers and purported prime minister who don't exist in law. Now, first we'll deal with a simple thing, being the mind of our lovely so-called Premier, Dodgy Roger. This constitution is a fraudulent one, as I keep saying. This one is the correct one, as I keep saying. An issue that's before the courts still, and now it's before England. Now, this authorises the states to have a constitution and continue it subject to this constitution. There is no authority to remove it and replace it or do anything else with it. So, Dodgy Roger, you've got a problem, and it come out of your own mouth. Last week you decided that you could can fishing because somehow you got a university mob to go to all the sandbars and check for fish, and of course there isn't any, there was nothing to eat. Anybody with a brain would stop and think. Was what he said true? Did these people do it lawfully? The test, whatever you call that? No. Did you have the right to do it? No. Do you have control over the water between the high water mark on the land and 12 nautical miles? No. Why? Because the Constitution says so. Clause 8 says when the colonies become states, the Boundaries Act no longer applies. You don't have any boundaries, and you know it. How many times do you have to be told before something sinks into your thick head and you realise you are lying to the people? Because you're in a position of authority, you should know, even if you didn't. Now, this is the Imperial Act. It says all the elections must be held according to this. No other act. You can't have one, you can't have your electoral commission, your electoral anything, nor can they at federal parliament level. Parliament, not government. There is a federal government made of 3 individual units. There is a state parliament made of 3 individual units. What you're ignoring and trying to get away with is this. And that was on that was a headline on the 3rd, where Electoral bungle boss out for the count. Commissioner jumps before he's pushed from 289,000 position. Oh, and Basil Zempoulos knows all about it, Liberal Party. And then you've got this lovely thing from the 2nd. Quit or we'll sack you. Electoral debacle bombshell. There was no debacle. There wasn't enough documents for people to fill out. They sent people home. There was an investigation. It came up and it proved that. So what took place was a fraud. Regardless of what the circumstances are, you did not present a lawful election. Therefore, it does not exist. Does it? Don't say it does, because you're in trouble now. So I wouldn't be pushing that one. But a little birdie says Liberals and Nationals and Labor got their heads together and decided we're not going to have another election. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. First, you didn't have an election according to this. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. This is the law. This is how elections will be run in this state. Your other problem is you're operating under this fraudulent constitution. It's fraud. It was knocked out of existence under the provisions of Clause 7. The reason I'm bringing this up because people need to be clear and start doing something about the lies and fraud. Without this constitution, there is no states created by this one. Because this tells you how the states run. 106 of this says this, not the other one, continues subject to this one. Why is that? So, it's lawful. Did you ever put the lawful one in, which is the letters patent? No, you didn't. So not only did you commit fraud, you committed treason against the Crown. You know about it, you've known about it for a long, long time, and you've decided you've got the right to remove it. You don't. You've known about this for a long, long time, and you're not using it. So everything that you quoted about, oh, the poor old boss, and, you know, we've got to get rid of him before he gets caught out, none of that is relevant to the fact that you're sitting in treason, committing fraud, and expecting us to just bow down. Now, when you come out with the nonsense about the fishing, and that's all it is, and any fisherman who sits back and does nothing is crazy, go and file against them. They're filthy liars, thieves and traitors. I don't care what the United Nations has told you because we're not a nation. You can't create us as a nation simply because the Constitution says under Clause 8, you must listen to this. It says when the colonies become states, the Boundary Act no longer applies. However, when the Commonwealth is established, it's established as a self-governing colony of England. And that act then applies. That's clear, or is it? Has it sunk in yet, Roger? If not, get a bottle brush, stuff it in your right ear, and go in and out until you clean the garbage out, so you listen. What part don't you understand? This is not a hate speech. This is telling you you're breaking the law, the supreme law, which is the Commonwealth Constitution Act. But the Labor Party knows that. You were told in 1936 that it's indissoluble. Go back and govern this state correctly. You were told. The Labor Party. Who the heck is the Labor Party? Where is that found in the Constitution? Doesn't exist. So why have we got it? Because you decided you wanted preferential voting, you wanted all the other stuff that Billy Hughes put in. So you're party to the treason he put forward. And it was treason. There's no justification, there's no freedom from prosecution just because you sit in the Parliament. Parliamentary privilege does not extend to the committing of treason. No parliament in this country can put legislation together. There is no national cabinet. There is no state cabinet. There is an executive selected by the governor of the state at state level. 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper. Same at federal level. You can lie all you like. None of it will wipe it out. You are lying. Now, they put the legislation together after they get voted in lawfully. The governor, if he was lawful, and we haven't got one, haven't had one since 1960, same as Governor General. Haven't had one. He, not she, selects those people. They put legislation together on the advice of the Parliament who represent the rest of Australia. The rest of the actual state, rather. Whether you like it or not, that's how it is. At federal level, it's the rest of Australia, state by state. And because it's the voting in each state, which we haven't had, we had a fraudulent one. These papers admit it, you've admitted it, and you've done nothing about it. So, again, you've got a big problem with treason. Breach the oath you owe to the people to serve the people. Supreme, absolute, uncontrollable authority remains with the people. You can't change that. Western Australia is unlawful because it's never had a lawful state constitution and still does not. Local government was added to the fraudulent one, as I've said before. The 1979 High Court Act negated the High Court for the simple reason is it took away the separation of powers between the legislature and the judicature. You see, you people are still ignoring the true law. Oh, you had that big incident in Bondi Beach or wherever it was. What a disgusting thing to happen. Whether it was lawful put up or whatever, to do that to anybody and treat them like they did, you're a scum. If you knew about it, eventually you'll stand trial. You're not getting away with what you're doing. You're not going to. But let's get back to the subject matter. If there are no boundaries, where did you get permission from the people via the federal parliament through a proper referendum process to have control of the area of water between the high water mark on the land and 12 nautical miles? Where did you get it? If it's not in the Constitution, it's not yours. And it can't be, because you would be altering a letters patent. Both the state constitutions and the federal one are letters patents. Office of Governor, letters patent, all the other things. You can sit back and try lying to the people, but they're waking up. This is not a hate speech. This is a love speech, love of our country and our laws. And you are breaking them. I'm just telling you, you're breaking them. What happens to you is up to the House of Commons, the House of Lords, and King Charles. He's been advised of everything you're doing. We have that right, and we're using that right. Your attack on my wife is further garbage for you to try and pressure. You don't pressure anybody. You can't, because you don't exist in law. You don't exist in law. You can say a million times you do. So let's look at it. If the 12 nautical miles has been extended to 200 miles or kilometres, then so be it. But there is no federal law which prohibits the taking of fish for commercial use or any other. Where do you get the right to licence it? That's a tax. What is tax? Any exaction of money. For example, rates, levies, tolls, licences, etc. are a tax. Constitution is clear. You can't tax it, so you can't control that either. So when you sneaked in the licence to fish, we didn't need a licence. You don't own the fish, the people do. Supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority. Truth. So what you're doing is lying. Can the fishermen take you to court? Not to the High Court, it's fraud. You'll have to go to England. You're taking away the ability for people to earn a living. There's some big players in there. If they don't get behind you financially, they're going to lose as well. And there's your big problem. Because it's fraud on the people. And we don't have any lawful courts till you get out of the High Court, get rid of that act. It's garbage, it's treason and fraud. You have no control. Now, Chris Bowen, you state all about carbon dioxide and everything else. I'm calling you out. You're lying. 3 or 4 weeks ago, a volcano blew up in Indonesia. Reportedly, estimated, blew all the stuff 5 kilometres into the air. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and sulphur gas, along with dust, dirt, and everything else. That volcano, 5, 6, 8, 10,000 degrees centigrade, fact, yes. Go read up on the volcanoes. Now all that goes down and settles in valleys and gasses people. Drops mud everywhere, blocks their houses, does all this damage. But all those gases dissipate in the ground after they sit in those valleys. Fact. Scientific fact out of all the encyclopedias. They all agree. So how does the lowly car, whose exhaust temperature at the end of the exhaust is between 20 and 30 degrees C, how does that exhaust go up there? When all the others, blown up there by a volcano, 5 or 6 whatever kilometres in the air, comes down and sits in the valleys. Why are you promoting this garbage to try and bleed us dry with your lies and fraud? Why are you joining United Nations when we're not a nation? We are a self-governing colony of England under Clause 8. It's part of the Constitution. Part of it. Can you take it out? No, it's a letters patent. And it's right here. On the second page of this document, which is off the government's website a long time ago, because you would have fiddled with it by now, as you usually do. And Clause 8 says, after the passing of this Act, the Colonial Boundaries Act 1893 shall not apply to any colony which becomes a state of the Commonwealth, but the Commonwealth shall be taken to be a self-governing colony for the purposes of this Act. Colonial laws, or the Colonial Boundaries Act, yes. So then, the only authority for a boundary is 12 nautical miles offshore, by this. They go 200, that's okay. There's not much difference between 12 miles and 200 k's. Not much. A couple of kilometres in your book, you wouldn't even bother to figure that one out, because you can't. So, Chris Bowen, you've got a huge problem because you're lying to the people, lying to the Parliament, and lying to overseas groups. And as for us paying $1 billion for those idiots in their jets to fly over here and tell us how we're going to run this country, if you allow them to do it, it's blatant treason against us. You need our permission to ask them to have it here, and when they come here, they're going to lie. Because if they step out of what I've just put to you, they're lying. Now, Dodgy Roger, just so that you know, and remind you, when your predecessor decided there was a problem with AdBlue, there was a problem with the railway, it got washed out. Well, all the stuff's always there to replace it within a couple of weeks, so that was a lie. AdBlue was a lie because we're one of the biggest producers of urea in the world, so we got all the urea, which is AdBlue, put 12 to 15% into water, there's your AdBlue. I said to you, and to your illustrious predecessor, so this is not a hate speech, he's got a mental problem, you've got to understand that, you've got to feel sorry for him, because he translated English into English for an Aboriginal lady. That's hate to do that to her. He was the one that looked stupid all over the world for what he did, so he did it himself. So you can't blame me for that one. That's no hate there. I feel sorry for his mental capacity. Needs him fixing up. But then he did the right thing and resigned. Why don't you? Because neither of you got the right to exist. Now let's go back to what I'm saying about the environment. If you mix 12%, possibly a little more, of garden lime, the bag you get from Bunnings, mix it up with water, put it through the same spray system that you use on diesel trucks, only add it to all the cars, all the gases come out of it. Try it, it works. I've done the experiments. Don't say it doesn't work. The chemical reaction of that lime on carbon dioxide proves that it works correctly. How do I know? Because I've done it. And gets rid of all the emissions. You don't even need a catalytic converter. And look at that, you'll save fuel out of that too. Because the Falcon engines, like most 6 cylinders or 4s, they fire on number 1, they also fire on number 6, on exhaust. What for? Because they fire on it, they inject on it, to excite the cat converter, which is how they burn off the garbage that you're putting in the fuel. Look at all the additives. How do I know that? Colin Prittis from the Government Chemical Laboratories did a test for me quite a few years ago, and I've got the test results which prove exactly what I'm saying. So, am I correct? Yes, I am. You continue to lie to the people of this country, and when you do, I'll continue to tell the truth. Now, you've got further threats that you've made, Albanese. You cannot, nor can you, any Premier who's listening to this, and I suggest you do, you cannot pass a law that takes away the judicial function of a court. You know, Dodgy Roger, you and Mark McGowan and your bunch of criminals decided that you'll change all our titles to Torrens titles, which you can't do. You have no legislative authority whatsoever in relation to land. If you think I'm correct, show me in section 51 of the Constitution where you got it, because you didn't have it before Federation. Was there a local government? Yeah. The parliaments of the colonies were the local government of England. They ceased to exist under the provisions of the Constitution, Clause 7, on the proclamation of the Constitution, 9th of July 1900, along with every purported law they had. How do I know? The Red Constitution is the Hansard of the interpretation of our Constitution. Ours. Not yours, ours. Our Constitution tells you how you will govern us. Like it or lump it, that's the law. You cannot have a law that takes away the judicial function of the court. In 2010, Tatani versus the South Australian Government, the High Court ruled that, full bench. Finks Motorcycle Club. You can't have a law that turns them into criminals without proving they're criminals first, convicting them. Now you want to catch somebody on their mobile phone or eating or some other stupid thing. They should be doing it? No. Pull over and eat. I got no problem with that. Take me a bit longer to get somewhere, so what? Who cares? But you may send them an infringement, and if they plead not guilty, the adjudicator deals with it, not you idiots. Not the police, because they're not. They're public officers and they can never be officers of the Crown. So you're going to give them judicial authority, and we can't go to court. You can't put that in. That is blatant treason. What is wrong with you people? You are stupid to think you can. You can't suspend their licence. Why? Because judges are adjudicators between the law and the people in the case that's before them. Adjudicators. An adjudicator says, well, that law is correct. If he can't say that because it's wrong, the big problem you have then is you become a dictatorship. So the cops can go down the road, these things that call themselves police, they're not. They're public officers, they're not police. You can call them what you like. You can call a car a toad, but it's not. That would be stupid, just like saying the police can do what they like. They can make a judicial function, carry it out. Where in the Constitution does it give them the authority? You have to show where in the Constitution that authority comes from. Doesn't matter what you say. You people are there to serve us. Your Immigration Act that Gough Whitlam backdated to 1948 is blatant treason. There's no retrospective legislation anywhere in the Constitution. This one. The state constitution and all laws made pursuant to it are subject to the overriding authority of this. Why? Because it says so. And it's a letters patent. And it was adjudged by Sir Samuel Griffiths, HCA 39 of 1915, at paragraph 148. Here you find section 106 binds the state constitution and all laws made pursuant to it to the overriding authority of the federal constitution. Is that clear? Or are you deaf? You want a hearing aid? And as for a national cabinet, there's no such thing. To create that is treason. To give them power is treason. There's nothing in the Constitution. If there was imperial law that empowered the Crown's representative, which is purported Governor General, but we haven't got one of those, not since 1960. Doesn't matter what you say. You're nothing more than a pack of liars, traitors and frauds. Fraud is a maxim of law. It vitiates everything. You may think you're going to get away with this. You see, I watched a video this morning and it was a story about the rats of Tobruk. You push Australians to the limit and they'll push back. You better find somewhere else to live when they do, because they won't stop, and they don't have to. They don't have to. We have a duty, and the Magna Carta, which is law in this country, don't care what Anne's Toomey says. It is not a statute. It is a charter of rights. Can't be touched. Don't care who told you they can, they can't. And if you push it, you're a liar and a fraud. I don't care what you think. I really don't. I'm going to put what I'm saying now to the House of Lords to go with the other 3 videos I put to them. House of Commons and King Charles. He is bound to deal with it. The House of Lords is a keeper of his or her Majesty's realms. There's no his or her representatives being a Governor General or the Governor of the state. You have no authority to take them out anyway. And you did. That's treason against the Crown, which is what we have there for them to look at. And every time you tell lies about me, I'm going to come back and tell the truth about you. That's not hate speech. That's correcting your inability to comprehend and tell the truth. Pretty obvious. You don't believe me? Give it a go. I'll keep coming back and see how far you go. So, first problem with this, I want to finish with this bit. Because of the fact you've admitted the election was fraud, unlawful, because of mistakes or deliberate whatever, or inability of that person to carry out the job you gave him, even though it was against the letters patent and direction of how you will run elections. That election was unlawful. You have to have another one, and the urgency of it is serious, because you only ended up with 5 voting states at the last federal election, which was straight after the state election of Western Australia. And guess what? Guess what? Your big problem is the federal election was fraud. You didn't have enough states to vote for anything. So, Albanese, people want to get rid of you. That's simple. Get out. You're a filthy lying traitor. You're sitting there unlawfully under an unlawful election heard by an unlawful body called the Electoral Commission, which doesn't exist in law, because every election must be heard under this Act. State by state, by the governors of the state, because it's the majority of people in a majority of states who represent the state, the whole state, one for the Senate and one for the House of Representatives only, under provisions of Section 8 and 30 of the Constitution. So the rest is fraud, lies and treason. So now what have you got? Nothing. Every single purported act you've passed, all these ones you're going to bring in, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you don't have a choice but to pay the people a pension. Show me in the Constitution under Section 51 where you get the authority to change the provisions of that and make it means tested that you don't do yourself. So you've got the right to discriminate against us, give your little buddies millions and millions of presents in the way of extra bonuses in your pension, which doesn't even exist because you only get paid for the time you spend in Parliament, which is less than 4 months a year. So how does all that come about and you call it good? And you give this extra couple of dollars to people who are on a pension. Is it worth it? Of course you get any money you get, even then, ends up about 2 cents. It's better than no cents. But you cannot get out of paying someone a pension because you have to. The Constitution says you do, both old age and invalid. Doesn't matter what you think. The Constitution's clear. You pay it. When are you going to do the right thing? I had to wait 10 years and 9 months to argue and then get a ministerial file going to get a pension. Did you pay me? Yeah, a few weeks. What about the years that you owe me, you thieves, liars and frauds? You still get yours. You walk out of Parliament and get it in a short period of time. Why don't we, when we are put out of a job medically unfit, which I was, when I become of age to get a pension, I had to argue and fight and bitch about it to get it. Is it true? Yeah. I was harassed by my ex-wife to go and get it. I filed it that many times and it was rejected every time. No explanation, just wouldn't give it to me. Didn't have any assets. Council already changed the title in 2019 when they sold it against the court order that I won. And you lied about that again. You lie about every single thing you do. Time to tell the truth. Time to stop bringing in all these people that vote for Labor and not vote for the Australian people. That is treason. That's something you're going to have to deal with in the future, or deal with the consequences meted out by the people. You think we're weak? Look over your shoulder, you pack of morons. You don't understand the people have had a guts full. You can take the guns off them, but that doesn't fix the problem. The problem is you. Why would people have a reason to get angry and hate you if you didn't lie, cheat and steal off them? If you treated them properly according to the authority we grant to you, because that's all you have by our Constitution, why would we attack you then? We wouldn't. The big problem is you don't want people to protest. You don't want people to do this. You don't want to be scrutinised about the lies you try to put over to us. That's the problem. You don't want scrutiny when you commit blatant treason. You have a plebiscite in the homosexuality. If you bothered to read the Bible, it doesn't say you can't be homosexual. It says it's an abomination to God. It gives you a choice to deal with it or don't deal with it. You didn't need a law, but you wanted so you could play kissy-kissy and cuddle up in the Parliament and look like a pack of idiots on a plebiscite which is not a referendum. You didn't put it out as a referendum because you knew you wouldn't get what you wanted. But you wanted a marriage between a man and a woman according to the Bible. Are you going to say that's wrong? No, because you can't. It's a letters patent. And it's copyrighted to the Oxford University. Look it up, it's all there. Preferential voting is a fair system. I just explained it. You cannot have preferences. If I voted for you, Albanese, my vote would go to you. Not to who you prefer or anybody else that prefers. It would go to you. If I wanted to vote for my wife, so be it. If I wanted to vote for my Aboriginal mates down the road, that's my vote. I have that right. Why aren't they getting it? Because you decided you couldn't mess with that vote. You couldn't get into everybody. You couldn't rip off everybody. So you segregated them from us and wanted a war. Now they're waking up. History will show in the future, and it's a fact, that the pygmy people were here before anybody else. I'm not going to argue that point. It's historical fact, and it's the true history of this country. That native people that are called natives were here before the white people. Fact. We've got to look after them, we've got to provide for them, but not to the extent they sit around and do nothing and they don't want it. They have pride, they have dignity, they are who they are. They are honest, hard-working people Quite a few of them that I know. There are bludgers, but there's bludging white people and others as well. So what? Give them a job, make them do it, or cut off their pension, or their dole money, whatever. It's not a gift to get paid to sit home and do nothing because you don't want to do anything. I proved for 10 years I could earn a reasonable enough living to live. And I did while I was waiting to get a pension. And I was boarded out medically unfit. I wasn't capable of even walking properly, regardless of the lies were told by people around me. I don't want anything for nothing. I've always worked for what I wanted. In the police force I worked 2 other jobs. I had 2 businesses. Was I allowed to? Yes, because they were part-time ones and nobody would do the work, so I did it. That's all there is to it. I've got nothing more to say than I hope you actually have a good Christmas, because your new year isn't going to be what you think. Sooner or later the people are going to take notice of what the rats at the brook actually did and do the same to you. I don't want it, we don't need it, but you're going to get it. And you think taking guns off you are going to do anything? They didn't use guns, they used everything but. Wake up. The people are not going to put up with your crap much longer. And that is a warning, not a warning of upcoming violence towards you, of what the people's options are. Take back this country from thieves. And that's all there is to it. There is no other way to stop it. So I respectfully suggest you people pull your heads in, get out of the job, put the state constitutions back in place, and teach the people in this country, you want to stay here, this is the conditions of entry. Our constitution says, follow our customs and beliefs, assimilate into our society, or get out, go home. That's not hate. You're given an option. You come here, you live our way. No more call to prayer all hours of the day and all that junk. That's not against Islam. It's against the people who do that. We have Noise Abatement Act to stop loud noise that wake people up. Even to the point you can't use the safety feature of a truck in some areas. Oh, look at that, there's residential, we might wake them up with a jake brake or an exhaust brake. But you allow people to come in here and have their prayers. I'm not stopping them having their prayers. Put it a different way. Do it a different way. It's not controlling your religion. It's telling you respect our country and our values, our society. That's all we want. If you don't like it, go back where you came from. That's not hate speech either. It's giving you an option. Comply or go. So have a lovely Christmas. And I don't care what you got to say about me. I've just told you the truth. Abide by it. Thank you.